When a millionaire discovered his cleaning lady's devastating secret about his daughter. Shocking. The thunderous roar of a luxury yacht cut through the salty air as it docked. At the helm stood Victor Hastings, a titan of industry, known for his ruthless business maneuvers but even more for his astonishing wealth. Yet today, as he stared out at the glittering sea, something felt off. A tightness gripped his chest, a pulsing anxiety he couldn't shake. Little did he know, the truth lurking right under his nose would send his world spiraling into chaos. Inside the sprawling estate, the smell of fresh lilies mixed with the faint aroma of lemon from the cleaner supplies. Clara, the cleaning lady, had been scrubbing floors and dusting chandeliers for years, a ghost haunting the gilded halls. But today, as she worked, her hands trembled. What secret was she clinging to? The air hung thick with unspoken words as she glanced nervously at the delicate photo of Victor's daughter, Lila, framed on the mantel. What was it that Clara knew? Memories flooded back, quiet whispers in the night, hurried words exchanged at the market. The way Lila's laughter would sometimes fade into silence when Clara entered the room, it didn't sit right. The tension about Clara's presence nagged at Victor, twisting his gut. Why did she always look so troubled? Why were her eyes shadowed like storm clouds? A feeling of dread gnawed at him. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As Victor paced the grand foyer, his mind raced. He had to confront Clara. The shadows in her eyes were too dark to overlook any longer. Summoning his courage, he stormed through the house, each step echoing with urgency. Where was she? The thought of her knowing something about Lila that he didn't sent a shiver down his spine. What if it was something terrible? His heart pounded as he pushed the door to the service quarters open. Clara stood frozen, clutching a feather duster like it was a lifeline. There was a silence thick, heavy, like smoke before a fire. Her eyes widened, shadows dancing across her face. It was there, in that moment, an unspoken truth hung between them like a ticking time bomb. Clara, what do you know about my daughter? His voice sliced through the quiet, desperate to uncover the hidden horror. In that breathless moment, everything stood still. Clara opened her mouth, but it was as if the words were lodged in her throat. Would she shatter the world he thought he knew? Did she have the power to bring devastation that even his millions couldn't protect against? Suddenly, she inhaled sharply, the trembling in her hands intensifying. What would she reveal? The question lingered in the air like the faint echo of a storm brewing on the horizon, and Victor braced for what was about to emerge. Clara took a deep breath, her eyes darting as if searching for an escape. Victor's heart raced, every beat echoing in his ears like a warning siren. She hesitated, wrestling with the weight of her burden. He could see the conflict etched in her face, like a storm battling to break free. Victor, she finally whispered, her voice dripping with trepidation. What I have to tell you, it's about Lila. It's about her past. What about her past? Victor urged, his desperation feeding the fire in his chest. You need to tell me now. Clara's lips quivered, and she squeezed the feather duster so tightly, he feared she might snap it in two. It's not what you think. There are things you don't know, secrets hidden in plain sight. It's about a man Lila was with before you even knew. The mention of a man sent a jolt through Victor, filling him with dread. How could she know about a man in Lila's life? He wasn't aware of anyone significant before him. A wave of protectiveness surged within him, mixing with sheer disbelief. Who? What are you talking about? He demanded, his voice rising like a tempest. He was dangerous, she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. He hurt her. Physically. Mentally. He made her feel like she was trapped, and I feared she would never be the same. The room spun. Victor clenched his fists, feeling the walls close in around him. Lila had always kept her pain hidden. He had assumed she was strong, resilient. How could she have gone through something so harrowing without his knowledge? Why didn't you say anything earlier? His voice cracked, revealing the hurt behind his anger. You've known her for years. Clara's gaze fell to the floor, the weight of guilt heavy on her shoulders. I was afraid, she whispered, choking on her words. Afraid of losing my job. Afraid of what you would do if you found out. But this man, Victor, he's dangerous. He's back in town. Victor felt a cold chill slither down his spine. Back? What do you mean? Clara gripped the duster tighter as though it was a weapon against all that transpired. He's been seen near the estate. He's looking for her. The revelation struck like a lightning bolt, fear and fury igniting in his chest. The idea of someone threatening Lila, of her being at risk, shattered his composure. Every protective instinct roared to the surface, but the uncertainty lingered. Who was this man? What did he want with his daughter? Before he could process his emotions, Clara's phone buzzed sharply, breaking the tension. Startled, she fumbled for it, and her face drained of color as she read the message. Clara, what is it? Victor asked, sensing the shift in her demeanor. She looked at him, wide-eyed. It's him. He sent me a message saying he wants to meet. He knows I know. Victor's stomach twisted violently. He had to act. We have to warn Lila. She's in danger. Clara shook her head, fear etched in her features. No, we can't let her know. She's fragile. If she finds out he's back, then what do we do? Victor slammed his fist on the nearest countertop, fury and anxiety battling for dominance. The stakes had never felt higher. Clara's voice dropped to a hushed tone. There's a way to keep her safe, but it's risky. We have to get to him before he gets to her. Victor glanced at Clara, wondering if he had fallen into a nightmare. Trusting her felt like a gamble, but he had no choice. Lila's fate hung in the balance. Then let us do it, he declared, steeling himself for the confrontation that lay ahead. We'll find him. We'll protect her. As they exchanged nods, both painfully aware of the danger that loomed, they stepped out of the service quarters. But outside, the world felt darker, more menacing. Who was this shadow stalking Lila? Victor's heart raced, heavy with the question that gnawed at him like a ravenous beast, and as the door clicked shut behind them, somewhere in the distance, the ominous sound of a single whistle echoed, signaling that the game was about to begin. The streets outside the estate were suffocating, wrapped in an eerie silence that felt almost alive. Victor's instincts screamed at him, danger was close, lurking just out of sight. The night's darkness draped over them like a thick fog, heavy with uncertainty. Clara walked briskly beside him, her face pale as the moonlight cast shadows across her worried features. We need to find Claire first, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. If she's at the house, we'll have a better chance of keeping her safe. Victor was keenly aware that every moment wasted allowed the threat to get closer to Lila. Fear gnawed at his insides as they hurried toward the main house. The back entrance creaked ominously as he pushed it open, revealing the expansive kitchen bathed in shadow. Lila? He called out, voice echoing starkly against the walls. There was a dreadful pause before silence swallowed his words whole. Let us check her room, Clara suggested, glancing nervously over her shoulder as if the very walls had ears. They moved swiftly, their footsteps muted on the lavish carpets that sprawled beneath them. As they approached Lila's room, Victor felt the weight of dread pressing upon him. Clara's earlier words loomed like a dark cloud. The man who had once shattered Lila's reality was nearby. What do we do if we find her? He asked, his voice a mix of urgency and fear. "Keep her calm," Clara replied. "We can't let her know." The door to Lila's room stood slightly ajar. Victor pushed it open slowly, anxiety coiling around his throat. Inside, the pale glow of the bedside lamp framed Lila as she sat cross-legged on her bed, a journal resting on her lap, lost in thought. "Lila," he started, but her eyes, normally vibrant and full of life, were clouded, distant. "What is it?" "You look intense," she said, a hint of confusion mingling with the warmth of familiarity. Victor took a deep breath. "We just want to check on you. Everything's okay, but we need to talk." Before he could continue, a sharp knock broke the uneasy moment. They all froze. "Who's there?" Lila asked, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "Delivery for Miss Shaw," came a calm voice from the other side. Victor glanced at Clara, they shared a knowing look of alarm. "Lila, stay here," he commanded, and before she could protest, Victor stepped toward the door. He needed to ensure it was safe. As he opened the door, dread turned to confusion. A man stood there, unassuming in a dark jacket and jeans, holding a small box. "Special delivery," he said with a disarming smile that didn't reach his eyes. "From an admirer." Victor's pulse quickened. The man's calm demeanor felt wrong, as if it masked something sinister. "No deliveries tonight," Victor said, his voice sharp and low, eyes narrowing. He felt an overwhelming urge to shove the man away, to protect Lila at any cost. "Actually, sir, I think you should see this," the man insisted, shifting the box slightly. There was a flash of something, a small blade reflected in the dim light before the man quickly concealed it again. Victor's heart thudded painfully in his chest. The air crackled with tension as he faced this unknown threat. With every fiber of his being, he knew that whatever was in that box could change everything. Behind him, he heard a soft gasp. Lila had gotten out of bed. "What is going on?" she whispered, eyes wide with alarm. "Stay back!" Victor shouted, instinctively stepping forward to shield Lila from whatever was about to unfold. The man's smile widened, revealing teeth that were anything but friendly. "You should really let me in. This is bigger than you think." Victor felt the ground shift beneath him as dread settled in. He had become a pawn in a game he barely understood, and Lila was at its center. Then, as if on cue, Victor's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He fished it out with trembling hands. The screen lit up with a message that made his blood run cold. "If you want to keep her safe, you know what to do." The walls felt like they were closing in, and Victor realized they were running out of time. "Lila, go!" he shouted, moving to grab. The man's panic surged through him. But before he could act, the man took a step back, the blade flickering ominously between them. "Welcome to the game," Victor's heart sank as he realized the stakes had just been raised. What would he be willing to sacrifice to keep Lila safe? A single terrified breath escaped Lila's lips, thick with uncertainty. And as the tension snapped, they all understood this was just the beginning. Victor locked his eyes on the man, the reflection of the blade glimmering in the dim light, a predator sizing up his prey. Every instinct told him to act, but fear paralyzed him. The room felt crowded, suffocating, every shadow a potential danger. "Lila, stay back!" he barked again, his voice sharp. Fear turned to desperation. The man in front of him was no simple delivery driver, he was a threat cloaked in a casual facade, and Victor needed to break through the tension before it snapped. Now, the man said, raising his hands in mock surrender, but the blade remained conspicuously close. "I assure you, this isn't what you think." His eyes danced with a twisted amusement. "This is purely business." "Business?" Clara's voice quivered, slicing through the thick tension. "What kind of business?" The man leaned in slightly, his demeanor shifting. "You see, information has its price. In this case, information about Claire, Lila's twin." Interesting girl she is. Caught in quite the predicament. Victor's breath hitched in his throat. How did he know about Claire? What did he want? An icy dread crawled up his spine, tightening its grip. You leave Claire out of this. Victor shouted, feeling the adrenaline flood his system. What do you want? Just an exchange, the man replied smoothly, tilting his head to one side. I provide you with information that will keep her safe, and in return, you open that box. No. Lila's voice rose, shaking with emotion. She took a step forward. You can't trust him. Victor, don't. Victor hesitated, consumed by panic and dread. The blade glinted again, and suddenly Victor felt the world narrowing around him, choices closing in, each leading to potential disaster. Could he risk accessing whatever lay within the box? Was it worth Lila's safety? Time is of the essence, the man pressed, his gaze chilling. Tick-tock, Victor. Every second you waste could bring her closer to danger. You control her fate. Breath caught in Victor's throat as the man's words sank in. Was this really happening? Who was this man, and how much power did he wield? All I have to do is open the box. Victor asked, his voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. Exactly, the man encouraged, a devilish glint in his eyes. Imagine knowing where Claire is, knowing she is safe, and all it takes is that one little action. Lila's face paled further, fear mingling with something deeper. Don't, Victor. We don't know what he is planning, but there it was, the buried terror. The stakes had become grotesquely apparent, and Victor could feel the weight of 1,000 calculations wrapping around him like chains. The choice was there: sacrifice security for knowledge or risk losing everything. Just open it, Victor, the man insisted, his smile never wavering. Then we can all be on the same page. The room spun, tension spiraling tighter. Victor locked eyes with Lila, searching for reassurance but finding only fear reflected back. He could feel all that was familiar, that once felt safe, crumbling under the weight of this moment. What if I refuse? He challenged, his bravado faltering under the pressure. Then Claire's fate may rest in uncertain hands. I'm sure you wouldn't want that. The man shrugged, as if discussing the weather. The threat hung heavy, hanging in the air like a noose. Victor felt a lump rising in his throat. How could he protect Lila, his heart, without sacrificing Claire? But then he believed, no one else had to get hurt. Breath trembling, he reached for the box, a wild pulse throbbing in his ears. But before his fingers could brush its surface, a sudden crash echoed through the hallway, causing everyone to freeze. The man took a step back, eyes narrowing, all pretense slipping away. What was that? Victor's heart raced. The game had shifted, and they were no longer alone. What is happening? Lila stepped closer, her voice laced with anxiety. Victor dared to glance toward the door. A glimmer of hope wrapped in fear flickered to life. We need to get out of here, he said urgently, spinning back toward Lila, but the man blocked him, the blade once again poised. Dangerously. Not so fast. We have unfinished business. The words dripped with menace. An unsettling silence filled the air, and Victor knew the danger was far from over. With a sudden sound like thunder, the door burst open, and an unfamiliar figure stormed into the room. In that split second, everything could change again. Victor's heart raced in anticipation, knowing they might finally break free or plunge deeper into chaos. What had he let himself into? The figure that crashed through the door was a blur of motion, his silhouette framed against the dim corridor light. Panic surged through Victor as he instinctively shielded Lila, heart pounding like a war drum. The man with the knife shifted, his blade ready to strike, but the new arrival barely hesitated. Get down! The figure barked, his voice like gravel, slicing through the tension. Victor felt Lila tug at his sleeve, her eyes wide, pleading silently. It was all shifting too fast. Before Victor could react further, the figure lunged forward, tackling the man with the knife. They tumbled violently to the floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Lila squeezed Victor's arm, her nails biting into his skin, but he couldn't look away. He could barely comprehend what was happening, his mind snapped between dread and bewilderment. "Who the hell are you?" the man shouted in shock, struggling to gain the upper hand. Caught in the midst of chaos, Victor seized the brief moment of distraction to survey the scene. The new arrival was tall, sharp features accentuated by adrenaline-fueled determination. He wrestled the blade away from the attacker. The fight whirled, spinning limbs and furious grunts filled the room as Victor searched for a way out, feeling more trapped than ever. "Victor! Lila!" the stranger shouted, his voice somehow slicing through the maelstrom. "Get to the door." With a final shove, the stranger knocked the blade out of the man's grip, sending it skittering across the floor. Victor felt something crackle in the air, a raw energy, a spark of possibility. Time stretched, every heartbeat furiously echoing in the thick atmosphere. "Go!" The urgency in the stranger's voice broke through, thrusting Victor into gear. He tightened his grip on Lila, breathing in her fear, and propelled her forward. They moved toward the door, but the man scrambled to his feet, eyes alight with rage. "You think you can escape that easily?" he spat, advancing on them. Victor turned, feeling every inch the weight of the world pushing down on him. He wouldn't let Lila take the brunt of this. "Stay back!" he yelled, clutching a heavy metal chair that lay nearby, ready to defend them. "Open the box!" the man hissed, vicious desperation twisting his face. "You don't know what you're putting at stake. You won't make it out. Not with her. Forget the box." Lila shrieked, her voice trembling with urgency. "It's not worth it." Her determination locked with Victor's, and he understood. They couldn't let fear pin them down anymore. With a blurry combination of instinct and instinctive bravado, Victor swung the chair at the attacker, forcing him back. For a moment, the world hung in a suspended balance. Then the blow landed, and Victor saw the man stumble, confusion mixed with anger. "Run!" Victor urged, pushing Lila toward the door as the chaos erupted again. The stranger was grappling with the man, time collapsing into a singular focus: survival. They burst into the hallway like wild horses, propelled by desperation, rushing down the dim corridor. Footsteps echoed behind, a haunting reminder of the chaos they left behind. "What if he comes after us?" Lila panted, glancing over her shoulder. He won't. Victor felt it, a steel resolve hardening within him. But then doubt crept back. What about Claire? What had they unleashed in this desperate struggle? Just as the door to the stairwell yawned open before them, a guttural shout erupted from the room they fled. "Victor! You can't run from this. You have no idea what's at stake." The walls felt like they were closing in again. Victor hesitated, his mind racing. What did the man know? What did he want? But there was no time to think. They were on the edge of something larger, the roots of danger spread wide beneath them, and every instinct screamed to keep moving. They plunged into the stairwell, breaths ragged, fear pulsing through them like thunder. What awaited them at the top? A harsh truth or a bitter end? As they raced up, the light grew dimmer, shadows whispering chilling secrets. Would they find safety? Or were they hurtling toward an even darker revelation? The spiral staircase felt like a funnel, pulling them deeper into darkness, every step resonating with dread. Lila's small hand trembled in Victor's as he pushed ahead, each breath feeling heavier than the last. "We need to get to the roof," Victor urged, his voice barely a whisper, swallowed by the echoing silence. The dim light above flickered, casting ominous shadows that danced around them, threatening to swallow them whole. "Why are we going up?" Lila asked, her voice shaking, a mix of fear and confusion. "What if he comes after us? They wouldn't expect us to go up." It's our best chance. Victor's mind raced. He needed to protect her, to put distance between them and the chaos below. The adrenaline that had propelled him earlier began to falter, fear gnawing at the edges of his thoughts. As they reached a landing, Victor glanced over his shoulder. No one followed yet, but that didn't bring him comfort. The shouting from below had faded into a tense stillness, filled with the dread of something lurking in the dark. The door at the top stood slightly ajar, a pale glow bleeding through the crack. With a quick push, Victor nudged it open. The cold night air hit them like a slap, fresh and sharp. He looked outside. The rooftop loomed above the city, a precarious escape hanging in the night. "What if we jump?" Lila suggested, her voice trembling. "We could find a way down, maybe escape." "Are you sure you want to take that risk?" Victor shook his head. He didn't want to frighten her, but the thought of leaping into the unknown filled him with doubt. Her hopeful gaze bore into him, filling him with a cocktail of fear and anxiety. "We can't go back, not after that," Lila insisted, clenching her fists. Suddenly, a crash rang out below, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Victor's heart raced. They didn't have much time. "Okay, let us stick to the plan. We won't jump just yet." He stepped cautiously onto the rooftop, scanning the edge for a possible alternative route. The sharp breeze tousled his hair as they edged closer to the ledge. The city stretched below, teeming with life, oblivious to the devastation unfolding above. But up here, it felt like they were on the brink of something far more perilous. "Victor," Lila whispered, her voice trembling. What did he mean about the box? What's at stake? He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's something he doesn't want us to find. That much is clear." As they reached the edge, the world felt balanced on a knife's edge. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the rooftop door, silhouetted against the pale light. Victor's stomach dropped. It was the stranger, the man who had defied the attackers. "What are you doing?" he called out, eyes wide with urgency. "Get away from the edge. You don't know what's coming." The man's warning sliced through the air, rooting Victor and Lila in place. The sound of footsteps behind him echoed ominously, each step a chilling reminder of the danger they were still trapped in. "Victor," Lila whispered, her voice a mere tremor on the breeze as panic flickered across her face. Then, without warning, another figure crashed through the door behind the stranger, the original attacker's furious eyes blazing. "I told you, you can't escape this," he shouted, lunging forward. Victor felt Lila's grip tighten, fear radiating from her. The scene unfolded like a horrifying movie, and he was caught in the center of it. "Run!" The stranger yelled again, shifting to defend them. In that moment, Victor felt the world tilt on its axis. He had a choice, but this choice could lead them down a darker path. What would he decide? Would he fight or flee? The rooftop was suddenly alive with chaos. Then, as if mocking their plight, a chilling wind howled through the air, and Victor understood, they were not just running for their lives, something sinister was unfolding around them, and soon they would have to confront the depths of their fears head-on. Was this battle truly just beginning? The atmosphere crackled with tension, shadows closing in around them like a tightening noose. Victor's heart pounded as he weighed his options. The stranger's warning echoed in his ears, "Get away from the edge." While the attacker surged forward, fury radiating from his every movement. "Victor!" Lila's voice pierced through the chaos, pulling him back to the moment. The urgency in her tone jolted him. He couldn't let fear dictate his next move. "We have to do something." Before he could respond, the stranger lunged, blocking the attacker's path, his body a shield between them. "You need to go. Now." The panic in his eyes mirrored Victor's own, igniting a spark of determination in Victor's chest. "Come on." He grabbed Lila's hand and began to pull her towards the far side of the roof, away from the violent struggle that erupted behind them. The gusting wind tossed their hair as they dashed, the sound of the scuffle fading into the background, replaced by the violent beat of their hearts. What if they catch us? Lila gasped, her breath hitching in her throat. They won tea, he replied, though his own doubt gnawed at him. The dark stairwell was one thing, the rooftop felt like a trap. But there had to be a fire escape or something they could climb down. He scanned the horizon, searching for their way out. Over there. Lila pointed to a rusty ladder hanging over the edge of a low ledge, almost camouflaged against the roof's surface. Relief washed over him. Let us go. They sprinted toward it, nearly losing their footing on the uneven surface. Just as they reached the ladder, a loud crash echoed from behind, the stranger's shout piercing the night. Don't stop. Victor turned, caught in the moment. The attacker was emerging, his eyes wild with fury, the stranger on the ground, struggling to rise. Victor! Lila screamed, pulling at his sleeve, her voice trembling. We can't leave him. We have to. But deep down, guilt clawed at him. He's sacrificing himself for us. The wind howled around them, a mournful reminder that in their world, choices came at a cost. Victor could feel the weight of that cost settling on his shoulders. If they didn't escape, would they end up like him? The attacker edged closer, his silhouette dark against the pale city lights, rage festering in his eyes. They couldn't hesitate. Move! Victor growled, adrenaline surging. He climbed the ladder swiftly, Lila right behind him. The metal groaned under their weight, but they reached the roof's edge without looking back. Help me up. Lila's voice quivered as Victor reached down to pull her up, heart racing. When she was finally on the roof, they both crouched low, peering over the ledge to see their pursuer. The stranger had regained his footing, but he was outnumbered. The attacker moved like a predator, circling him, taunting him. Fear twisted Victor's gut as he realized the gravity of the situation. The stranger had taken a stand so they could escape. What do we do? Lila whispered, her eyes wide, glistening with unshed tears. We wait. Victor's voice trembled. They couldn't risk being spotted. But tension hung heavy in the air. Every second felt like an eternity, the world teetering on the brink of disaster. Suddenly, a vicious cry erupted from the rooftop as the attacker launched himself at the stranger. Time splintered in that moment, it felt like everything hung in suspension. Victor's heart sank as he watched. The fight was brutal and real, fear clawing its way up his spine. He wanted to intervene, to help, but he knew they had to stay hidden. From the corner of his eye, he spotted movement in the distance, an approaching figure on the ground below. Victor! What about? Lila's voice trailed off as she noticed too. Who was it? Was it friend or foe? Just then, a sudden shout pierced the tension freeze. Both Victor and Lila exchanged wide-eyed glances, the uncertainty gnawing at them. From the shadows emerged an unexpected ally, but how would this new arrival alter everything they thought they knew? With the odds stacked against them, they braced for the unexpected. This was nowhere near over. The figure on the ground grew clearer, emerging from the shadow of a nearby building. Victor could hardly breathe. The newcomer wore a long coat and a hat that masked their face, but the energy radiating from them felt singular, urgent. Who are you? Lila whispered, her voice barely a breath. I don't know. Victor's voice cracked. But we need to stay quiet. The attacker was still focused on the stranger, fists flying, rage vibrating in the air. But Victor's eyes remained fixed on the stranger below. The newcomer shouted again, this doesn't have to get worse. Back away from him. Victor's gut churned. This was not the time for bravado. He looked back down at the rooftop battle. With each blow, the gravity of the stranger's act settled heavier on Victor's chest. Was he willing to let an innocent person be harmed for their escape? Victor! Lila hissed, breaking him from his thoughts. We have to move now. But just then, another voice joined the fray, cold and commanding. Renegades always playing hero. Victor flinched. The attacker turned with a sinister grin, revealing grimy teeth. Looks like we've got more company, boys. Victor cursed under his breath. Just when they thought help arrived, it looked more like the situation was spiraling into chaos. The new figure in the distance stepped closer, revealing it was a woman, her expression fierce, determined. She gestured emphatically for the newcomer on the ground to back away. "Get back. I'll handle this," the woman shouted as she moved toward the battle unfolding above. "Who is she?" Victor asked, half mesmerized by her confidence. "I don't know, but we can't wait to find out." Lila tugged at his sleeve again, her eyes darting nervously. "Wait." He hesitated. If they ran, they might leave the stranger behind to face their attackers alone. Panic pierced his heart. "We can't just go. Victor, we have to." Lila insisted, tears threatening to spill over. "I can't lose you too." Suddenly, the group on the rooftop shifted again. The stranger was staggering, blood trickling down his forehead, but he was not the only one showing signs of struggle. The attackers were becoming more frantic too. "Now!" Lila cried, and with that, Victor snapped into action. With a few quick steps, he took Lila's hand again, and they rushed towards the stairwell they had come from. Each step felt like it could be their last as they glanced back. The woman had lunged into the fray, fully committed, taking on what appeared to be two attackers with a fierce resolve. "Go!" Victor shouted, pushing Lila ahead of him. They barreled down the stairs, the sound of the battle raging above morphing into a distant growl, desperation clawing at their throats. As they hit the lower level, Victor's mind propelled them forward, but the air felt strange. A heavy silence had settled. They skidded to a halt as they reached a door leading into a dark hallway lined with flickering lights. "What now?" Lila whispered, fear evident in her voice. "Where are we?" Victor asked, scanning the barren hallway. He could feel the shadows clinging to them, watching, waiting. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated behind them, shaking the hallway. Victor turned instinctively, but Lila shrieked, pulling him back. "We need to keep moving." Victor's heart raced. They had to choose. A door to the left seemed cautiously inviting, marked with a faint blue light. To the right, a narrow passage loomed dark and foreboding. "Which way?" Victor asked, the question hanging in the air, heavy with tension. Suddenly, something shattered behind them. A window? A scream? The noise hit them like a slap, jolting them. Panic surged. Whatever lay ahead could either be salvation or a trap. "Victor!" Lila urged, her eyes darting between the two paths. "We can't stay here." "Right, left." Victor stammered, feeling the suffocation of time pressing in. They had a choice to make, but both directions held unknown dangers. "What if we make the wrong decision?" Lila's voice trembled as they both stood on the precipice of fear. "Then we'll make it right," Victor replied, determination igniting within him. With one last glance back, he pulled Lila into the dimly lit left corridor, ready to embrace whatever awaited them in the unknown. But as they plunged deeper into darkness, did they stray further from safety or closer to the truth? The tension hung thick like a storm, waiting for the moment to break. The corridor loomed ahead like a gaping mouth, ready to swallow them whole. Shadows danced along the walls with every flickering light, creating an unsettling choreography that quickened Victor's heartbeat. Lila clutched his hand tightly, her breath shallow when they ventured further in. "Victor, what if she started?" But he cut her off. "No what-ifs right now," he whispered sharply, glancing over his shoulder. Each soft footfall echoed like the ticking of a clock, reminding him that danger could be lurking just a heartbeat away. They moved cautiously, quickly, slipping through the shadows while anxiety clenched at their chests. The air was thick, laden with the scent of dampness, and Victor felt the walls close in on them. Every nerve in his body screamed to turn back, to fight for whatever lay behind them. But he pressed on, forcing each step forward. "Do you hear that?" Lila's voice trembled, halting him in his tracks. Victor held his breath, listening intently. Somewhere along the corridor, an ominous sound broke the silence, a low growl, like distant thunder rumbling through the dark, making his skin crawl. He exchanged a worried glance with Lila, who seemed to pale at the thought of whatever menace could be lurking behind them. Maybe we should go back," Lila suggested, her voice quaking. Victor shook his head. "No. We can't risk running into those guys again. And we don't know what's waiting for us back in the light." As if in response to their fears, a gust whirled down the passageway, chilling them. Victor squinted to see what lay ahead, but the darkness swallowed all shapes and shadows, offering no clarity. They rounded a corner, and suddenly, the hall opened into a larger room, dilapidated and cluttered with forgotten remnants. Old furniture lay strewn about, dust motes swirling like trapped spirits searching for an escape. Rusty metal shelves lined the sides, and a heavy scent of decay hung in the air. "Victor," Lila breathed, pulling him away from a dusty armchair that had seen better days. "What do we do now?" Uncertain, Victor spotted something gleaming among the debris. A metallic handle protruded from an ornate cabinet, beckoning them closer. Heart racing, he stepped forward, the urge to discover outweighing his trepidation. "Wait," Lila cautioned, tugging him back again. "We don't know what that is. It could be dangerous." "It might be the only way out," Victor argued, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for the handle. The room was overwhelmingly silent, and that low growl hummed in the back of his mind. He needed answers, needed to know, before he could twist the handle. An unearthly shriek pierced through the stillness, echoing off the walls and sending a jolt of cold fear through him. Lila gasped, her grip tightening around his wrist. "Victor, we have to go. Now," she urged, her eyes wide with terror. But then came another sound, this one distinct: footsteps, heavy and approaching rapidly. Victor felt the unmistakable squeeze of panic. They couldn't go back, and they couldn't face whatever was coming. "Hide!" he commanded, pushing Lila toward a pile of old boxes, the dust rising like a cloud around them. They crouched low, hearts pounding in sync as the footsteps drew nearer. Victor squeezed his eyes shut, straining to hear, counting each step as it reverberated through the room. Panic prickled his skin, and he fought to keep quiet, heart racing as the presence neared, consuming the air with unease. Suddenly, there was a thud. The room felt electrified with tension. Then came a voice, muffled but distinct, coldly asserting, "They've come for you, I hope you're ready." Victor's stomach dropped. Who was this person? And what did they mean about coming for you? As the figure emerged from the shadows, Victor braced for the confrontation, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What secrets lay in the darkness? The truth was about to unfold in ways he never predicted, and at that moment, he questioned if they'd find freedom or be ensnared in a trap. The figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a woman with fierce eyes that gleamed like polished steel. Dark hair framed her face, and her presence radiated authority. It was then that Victor recognized her from an old photograph pinned to a corkboard in the estate, a distant relative of Lila's. Clara had spoken of her before, but Victor had never imagined she would appear now, under such dire circumstances. "Who are you?" Lila whispered, clutching Victor's arm tighter, her voice trembling. "Your salvation," the woman said, her voice steady and calculated. "But we need to move, and quickly. They're coming for you both." Victor instinctively protectively stepped in front of Lila, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on them. "What do you know? What is going on?" he asked, urgency lacing his words. She glanced at the door, as if sensing unseen eyes. "You've stirred a hornet's nest. The man who attacked you, he's more than a mere predator. He's part of a larger scheme that targets your family. They want power, Victor. Control. And they won't stop until they get what they want." Victor felt his heart skip a rush of fear mixed with anger. What do they want from Lila? "Everything," she replied curtly. You need to trust me. The longer we stay, the more danger we invite. Follow me. With no other choice, Victor took Lila's hand, nodding at the woman who led the way. They moved through the clutter, every sound amplifying their anxiety. The footsteps loomed closer, echoing ominously. We can't go back the way we came, the woman instructed, voice firm. They rushed toward a narrow door at the back of the room. It squeaked open to reveal a stairwell spiraling down into darkness. The closer the footsteps drew, the more Victor's heart raced. He pushed Lila forward, his instinctively protective nature overpowering his own fear. The woman followed, swiftly shutting the door behind them with a finality that echoed through the dimly lit corridor. Once they reached the bottom, Victor squinted in the gloom, searching for a sign of safety. What now? Get to the exit and don't look back, she urged, but the urgency vanished as an unsettling quiet enveloped them, reminding them of the hunters in pursuit. Time seemed to stall as they stood on the brink of an uncertain escape. We need some way to defend ourselves, Victor murmured, searching for anything that could serve as a weapon. The woman gestured toward a small table nearby, cluttered with tools and rusty implements. Grab something. We may need to fight our way out. Lila picked up a heavy wrench, her grip steadying as fear ignited a newfound resolve within her. Victor selected a metal pipe, feeling its weight as assurance. We can handle this together, he encouraged, looking Lila in the eyes. Let us move, the woman commanded, leading them toward a door at the back of the hallway, each step echoing a finality that cut through the silence. As she opened it, a breeze rushed past, invigorating yet haunting, carrying the sound of distant chaos from outside. Emerging into a dimly lit alley, Victor's senses sharpened. He could hear footsteps again, a mix of shouts, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of metal clashing. We have to cross the street and make for my car, the woman instructed, motioning for them to keep low. Don't let them get Lila. Victor's voice turned into a protective roar as they darted across the alley, adrenaline fueling every movement. Just as they reached the cover of a parked vehicle, the door swung open behind them. Victor glanced back, heart hammering. The masked man emerged, fury radiating from him. You can't run forever, he yelled. Get in. The woman urged, flinging open the car door, urging them inside. They scrambled, barely catching a glimpse of the menace closing in. With a surge of adrenaline, the woman revved the engine, tires screeching as they sped away from the encroaching danger. Victor turned in his seat, watching the shadows recede, but the threat was far from over. Where are we going? He asked, his pulse still racing. Somewhere safe. But we still need to find Claire. She's the key. Victor felt a knot tighten in his chest. Even amidst the relief of escaping, worry clawed at him. The shadows of their past lingered like ghosts, unresolved and haunting. What if they find us? Lila's voice trembled, still clutching the wrench like a lifeline. They won't, the woman said, her voice fierce and resolute. We'll protect you. This fight isn't over, but I won't let anyone take you away again. Victor met Lila's gaze, a mix of fear and conviction driving him forward. Together, we'll face whatever comes next. We won't back down, he promised, squeezing her hand tightly, and as the car surged forward, cutting through the dimly lit streets, hope flickered against the deepening darkness. They were still standing. They were still alive. But still, the game lingered behind them, dark forces at play, waiting for their next move. With resolve bubbling in their hearts, they steeled themselves for the next chapter of this perilous fight, a battle that would ultimately forge their destinies. Now more than ever, they needed the strength of their unity, their love, and an unwavering belief in each other, drawing the curtain on the chaos while standing at the brink of a new beginning. And as the city lights blurred into the distance, they knew this was merely the calm before the storm. Don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. Want your friends to join the ride? Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this explosive ending. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.